you do this kind of, district-wide event, I sort of think about three groups that I'm impacting. There's a group of teachers and educators, writ large, who hear that talk and they're affirmed. Yeah. And I think that's really important. As a teacher, I didn't hear PDs that affirmed what I was doing, and I often felt myself fighting PDs. And so I think affirming people that are engaged in practice that is actually supported by the research is a really important role for PD. Then I think there's a second group of people who felt really challenged by what they heard today, and it was disruptive for them. And I think that's important too, that group gets re-engaged. And then I think the third group, which is typically the majority of an audience this big, is a group of people who, in various different ways, have been straddling the fence. And hopefully, today pulls some of them off the fence, right, and reinvigorates them and reaffirms them to, as I said in the talk, to reset and to become the teacher that they always wanted to be. Every district has initiatives, sure. Right? Sure. And I know for a fact that programs don't work. Sure. People work. And so for me, the kind of test case is not, part of it is whether or not the district is pivoting its rhetoric, right? And I see you guys doing that, and that's important. But it's not what's going to transform the district, right? What's going to transform the district is when the people that are being asked to make this pivot get an investment from the district, right? Because the district every district is always like doing the latest, greatest initiative. And from a teacher's perspective, the buy-in is almost never about the initiative, right? The buy-in is about the relationships that comes from the district actually making investments in teachers to say, hey, this isn't just something that we're drawing up on the whiteboard. This is something that we're actually investing in, and we're investing in by developing you and supporting you to go down this journey. And I think it's also important that the district acknowledges that everybody isn't going to be at a different place, right, on this journey towards equity and justice and community responsiveness. And to embrace that fact, right, that if we're going to ask young people to come to school, and no matter where they're at in the academic spectrum, to invest and grow, then we have to model that with how we support and develop adults. And there are people in this room, 2,000 right, people, that are all across the spectrum for how prepared they are to go and do this work. And I actually think that's fine. Right? The question is how do we take people where they're at and say wherever you're at is cool. It's a plus place, you just can't stay there. Right? You have to continue to grow. And I think if that's what the initiative is about, then the initiative can transform the district.
I think one of the things that we've done as a district that our superintendent has done a really good job of is, and it sounds really simple, but it's kind of going along, we're in this mantra of putting students first. Mm-hmm. And it sounds so basic, but kind of what you're talking about, sometimes it gets lost in a lot of other things. So when I say something like putting students first, what does that mean to you?
It means that you keep the focus where it matters, right? I would say, I would encourage you guys to modify that, right, and say putting vulnerable students first, right? Because I think we've always put some students first, right? And those are the kids who show up and they're fully ready to affirm us and engage, and they can do school. For me, the real measure of the quality of a classroom or a school or a district is how it's able to put its most wounded and vulnerable students first. Because that might actually mean that some of your kids who have always been kind of the apple of your eye aren't first anymore. And the kids who are the bane of your existence are actually the focus of your energy and your strategy. And what happens when that begins to happen is that those kids who have always, felt supported at school, they still feel supported, right? But the kids who, because those kids, look, if you've got a kid who's come to school with a lot of trauma, right, and some real life stuff going on, and then you got a kid who's coming in that same classroom, walking the same hallways, that has some relative stability in their life. One of the best ways to support that latter kid, the kid with stability, is to support the kid without stability. And I think we lose track of that, right? Because we want to celebrate the kids who make us feel good about ourselves. And the kids who come in with all those pieces in place, they make us feel good about ourselves really quickly. Right? funded kid, it's a much longer journey, right? And we're kind of loath to make that investment and not see that quick return because the gig is so hard. So I think that's right, that this has to be about kids. At the end of the day, right, every policy, every practice, the question has to be, is it good for kids? Right? But I think that to the degree that we start asking, is it good for the kids that need us the most? Then we're really on an equity move.